Hello everyone, Gamertag here, and finally, the long-awaited Gen 4 is upon us. I know it's taken a very long time just for me to even get to the point where I could say, hey, we're doing a Gen 4 run, but finally, we can do it. And what better way to start it off than to go through Pokemon Platinum with just Dunsparce. That's right, it's Pokemon Platinum with Dunsparce versus the Sinnoh region. I know some of you might have expected like Piplup or Pachirisu or Bidoof or like Togekiss or Gible or something like that, but Dunsparce isn't a Pokemon that I really see get a lot of love, and when the only challenge video I've seen is Madrybred going through Fire Red with Dunsparce, I felt that it was about time that I decide that we would finally do a Dunsparce run. So we get a Naughty Nature, which means more attack and less special defense. Not the most ideal, but it definitely could be worse. Serene Grace is going to be nice, because those percentages are now going to double. We also name it Arceus, after the god of Pokemon. He's definitely pretty confused, I bet. So, as you can probably expect, early on, we're just fighting pretty weak trainers. Most of them can't really do any damage to us since we're really over-leveled. I mean, the only negative is we start with Rage. So, we have a lot of moves. It's actually really funny that, outside of our very large HP stat and very balanced other stats, we learn a ton of moves. It's hilarious that we went from Beedrill that hardly learned anything to Dunsparce that learns half the TMs in the game. I know there's no way we're going to need this many. I mean, obviously Earthquake is nice. Flamethrower might come in handy. Maybe we can use Ice Beam for Garchomp. I mean, Return's already. We already have Return. That's going to probably be something we're never going to get rid of. So, the early game rival fights like this one here, mainly this one, there's really not much to say. He can't really do anything, and his Starly just goes for Growl. It's funny because attacking is apparently so hard for a lot of NPCs to do. But we're just going to skip ahead to Roark. So I went in at level 16, and I came in thinking, oh, we're going to get attacked a lot. Rage is a great idea. No, it's not. Rage is terrible. I don't care how many times you've been attacked, never use Rage. Trust me, it's so bad. At least we got Geodude to waste its potion, so that's nice. I don't know if he has a second potion or not, but we'll just have to see. But we're pretty banged up after Geodude. Thankfully, I finally decided to go for Return and we luck out and crit Onix. But what's even funnier is Cranidos came in and just threw the fight. Well, he only threw the fight because apparently Return just one-shots. If I'd have known Return was going to do that, I would have just used that against Geodude. At least we got a first try badge out of the way, that's nice. However, we can't get the next badge because we have to fight Mars in the Valley Windworks. And the cool thing is, you know how normally her Purugly is awful to deal with? Well, when you have Arceus as your starter, it's pretty easy. Well, easy if you think surviving on 8 health and potentially being able to lose to a crit counts as easy, it's easy. Hey, first try, kinda nice. I thought our speed would hinder us, but here we are. Alright, second badge is Grass Trainer Gardenia. I always found it interesting how her name is basically Garden, just with an I and an A at the end, but what was problematic and I thought would actually really hurt us was the fact that her Turtwig leads with Reflect. Now, I don't have Taunt or anything to prevent that, but thankfully with Rollout we could stall out her Reflect, take out Charon pretty easily, and while Roserade did come and paralyze us with Stun Spore, we ended up still fighting through the paralysis and taking her out. It's pretty nice to get 2, gym badges in 2 tries. I can't say I expected that. So, the second commander fight was much less exciting than the first. Why? Because we have Yawn, and Yawn is fun, and once you put Skuntank asleep, it just never woke up. It's kinda nice, I wish we had that for Purugly. We might never have gotten close to losing. Well, at least it's nice to have a pretty easy fight. So against Fantina, we actually lucked out. I thought we were just gonna do half with Pursuit and then get burned. Thankfully, we end up critting Duskull, and that never happens. We do get put to sleep from Haunter because Hypnosis is pretty accurate, surprisingly, for the AI. 60% accuracy turns into like 90 half the time. But Haunter can't really do anything to us. I just want to point out that it can Sucker Punch while we're asleep, and I know it goes based off move selection, but I just feel like the move should automatically fail, just personally. However, we had a really easy time with this gym. Miss Magius didn't really do that much to us, and yes, while we only had 14 left, if we wouldn't have been put to sleep from Haunter, we would have had an even easier time. It's great, now I never have to potentially use Pursuit again. Well, at least until we find something to delete it with, but hey, it's nice when Pursuit helps you win a fight, and I didn't have to forget Aerial Ace existed because I actually needed Pursuit. Alright. Another rival fight, but we shouldn't lose this, right? We have God on our side. There's absolutely no way we would... we're gonna try that again. Okay, so we're just gonna come in with a different strategy. Apparently, if you Pursuit, the computer will just switch even when Pursuit's coming again. I'm not exactly sure why he switched. I mean, I know that the, AI doesn't understand how Pursuit works, but it actually was worse for him to switch. And he never used Endeavor, which caused us to lose the first time. So, I don't know. I don't really know why, but I'll take it because we got a pretty easy win out of it. But him switching literally just doomed him entirely. But hey, at least we can go pick up Earthquake now. In case you're wondering, yes, I tried the fighting gym without Earthquake. And no, it didn't go well. We stood no chance. However, now we have Earthquake. So, yeah, I think we're probably going to use this for probably the rest of the run. It's really powerful, gives us fire, steel, and rock coverage, and it's just so good. 100 power is amazing. Besides, you know how I said that we were going to keep Pursuit until we found a better move? Well, we're still keeping Pursuit, but we don't need Rollout. I mean, we're not going to be using Pursuit, but Rollout just... I wasn't having the best luck with it when I was using it, and it takes time to build up, which means we can't use Roost if we get low on health. But hey, at least we can go mop the floor with Maylene now. So her Metatite I wasn't worried about, it's not very good, but I was really fortunate because I thought her Machoke had Revenge. Which I think it was supposed to have at this point, but I think the developers thought it might be a little strong. But hey, we did get paralyzed off Force Palm, but we ended up still winning anyway. It's pretty nice. And yes, as you can see from how much that Force Palm did, this is exactly why we needed Earthquake. Yeah, we weren't winning without it. I wasn't going to show this Team Galactic fight because it's just filler, but Dawn's Clefairy used Gravity. That means that this Zubat is no longer a flying type, which means we can just destroy this whole fight with Earthquake, even if it means taking out Dawn's Clefairy in the process. I mean, I thought she was still going to live that Earthquake, to be fair, but the next one would have just taken her out anyway. I just think it's funny that we actually got to Earthquake a Zubat. That was super fun. Alright, another rival fight, and this one probably isn't really going to be that eventful. Sure, he has Double Team, but we have Ancient Power now to just one-shot Staravia. It can boost us with a 20% chance because Serene Grace just doubles it from 10 to 20, but it's really not a difficult fight now because we don't have to worry about Staravia just giving us problems. While Double Team is still annoying, it's still nice to finally have a special attacking move so we're not completely walled by Intimidate. But also, why doesn't he evolve his Buizel? It would have evolved it, I think... Is it the 20s it evolves or the 30s? Now I'm drawing a blank. Oh well. Well, I remember we're gonna go fight Wake. So his Gyarados I thought would be a partial problem because of Waterfall, but we outspeed, so we don't have to worry about him possibly flinching us. We also ended up getting a boost off of Ancient Power, just as we were taking out the Gyarados. I know it may or may not have been needed, but it at least offsets the attack drop we got from Intimidate, so it'll be useful. We outsped Floatzel because of it as well. I don't think we were really in any danger regardless, because Quagsire's pretty slow and we probably would have two-shot even without the boost. But it's kinda nice. We haven't had any trouble on a gym fight yet, and honestly, I'm just a little worried because I know it's gotta come at some point. Maybe the ice gym? The ice gym's always problematic. So we can't quite do the next gym because we have to fight Cyrus. Fight him quite a few times, but the first fight isn't usually a big deal. I mean, yeah, sure, it's something you have to do, so it's a big deal in that regard, but he's not really difficult here because, well, unless Sneasel messes you up with Ice Punch, which it's crazy that he has such good moves already, it can be difficult if he, freezes you with Ice Punch or gets a crit, but we were fine. However, we can't fight the Steel Gym yet. Oh yeah, and we got Surf. That'll come in handy. Alright, the generally harder rival fight at Candice City wasn't that bad. Sure, he has Double Team, but we have Ancient Power, and he just takedowns. Now, the boost wasn't something that I thought we actually needed, but we just ended up getting it anyway. I could have just finished him off with Return, but when I saw he had Heracross, I thought he might have Brick Break or some sort of a strong fighting move. But because of that, we also ended up outspeeding Infernape, which is still surprising despite the fact that we're over-leveled and +1, considering, Infernape's base 112 speed or something crazy. But hey, really easy time with a generally hard fight. I can't complain. Next up is the Steel Gym against Byron. This fight is not really difficult in any way, shape, or form. Magneton obviously goes down to Earthquake since it's 4 times weak. If this was Gen 5, he would have lived on Sturdy because Sturdy actually had use starting in Generation 5. Seriously, Sturdy until Generation 5 only protected you from Fissure, Guillotine, Horn Drill, and Sheer Cold. And I think there was one other one, but that's 4 or 5 moves. That's terrible. I just don't understand why it took so long for Sturdy to actually have use. I hated it at first, but it's grown on me, it makes sense. Also, Bastiodon totally just didn't even try. It's like it just surrendered and didn't want to fight anymore. I mean, I get it. If I was facing the god of Pokemon, I'd be a little scared too. I get it. So, we're on our way to Snow Point City, and as much as I hate this route because it just seems like it just goes on forever and there's deep snow that just drags it on, I want to take this time to address the fact that I really want to get back into streaming like I used to do. Something I stopped doing because other things were going on and I needed to work on just life stuff and mental health. But it's a matter of what I want to do and where I want to do it. While I could just stream it right here to YouTube, I initially started streaming on Twitch, and could also do Twitch since, I have emotes in there on there that those of you watching could use. Let me know down below in the comment section, and if there's anything you'd like to see, like a Nuzlocke of S.H.I.E.L.D., or Dynamax Adventures, or me just shiny hunting and seeing what we can get. I need to do a Legends Arceus something on here, now that I think about it. So, the Ice Gym, as you can imagine, was the first massive hurdle that we encountered. I ended up just getting an Ancient Power boost and just working through her team that way, and while I could have just power leveled because rare candies are a thing and I don't want to take all that time to grind when my EVs are already maxed, I figured if we could get a boost, we might be able to get through the fight anyway, and if we still failed, we were just going to power level. But the biggest issue that we ran into, unsurprisingly, was Frostlass. Why? Because this thing not only has Snow Cloak, but also uses Double Team. We just weren't doing enough damage without a boost, and even Ancient Power, while it was still doing respectable damage, she could just heal up with an item, and then once we ran out, we just only had Earthquake. Thankfully, after we got the boost, the fight wasn't actually that bad, and we actually were able to two-shot Frostlass pretty quickly. Oh yeah. We ran into Scrub before and he was teasing us like, haha, we already have the badge. Well, who was it that lost to the commander like the Scrub that you are? It just, I don't know how he was ahead of me, and I get that it's written in that he loses, but I guarantee you, if we took God up against her, we would have won no sweat. I still don't think he should have lost this fight, despite the fact that he's one of my least favorite rivals out of the entire series, because all he does is run into me and probably give my trainer headaches. Another Cyrus fight, and there is going to be another one coming up shortly after, because you fight him in a very quick series of events. Crobat isn't that difficult, or really a lot of his team isn't that bad. Despite the fact that we did get kind of low on health, it wasn't that hard for us to work through. Also, am I the only one that finds it odd that Cyrus of all people has a Crobat, considering how he treats others and maybe his Pokemon? I don't know if it's just me, but I just feel like that doesn't suit him that much. Anyway, the commander fight afterward was really easy. I hate fighting Bronzor because we can't Earthquake them because they all have Levitate, but we're able to eventually work through it. They can't do anything to us at all because they're super weak, so it's fine. Alright, last commander fight, and I don't have too much to say about this except for the fact that the rival having a Munchlax is just the worst. All he does is use Stockpile, and occasionally Body Slam that just does next to nothing. I just wish he had a better lead, because when you fight him, he leads his Staraptor. If he had Staraptor here, he'd actually be useful. The fight's still not a difficult fight, despite how useless the Munchlax is. I know he probably should have a Snorlax by now, but I'm guessing he just catches it at a pretty late level, and just couldn't get it evolved. We ended up getting poisoned too, and I kind of blame Munchlax's uselessness for it. But again, we weren't really in any danger, and honestly, Munchlax unfortunately is staying alive longer because of Stockpile. But also, if we weren't facing two Bronzor at the beginning, I would have just spammed Earthquake to KO it anyway. It's pretty poetic that we took out Munchlax with a crit. I just think that's funny. We ended up winning, and we never really got super weak. I mean, Roost helps a lot too. But still, it's nice to be, past this fight and be able to move on to the Distortion world that I absolutely hate because it's just a headache. But we're going to do the last Cyrus fight. So, I was worried because I forgot his Houndoom has Will-O-Wisp, which he just burns right away. Thankfully, we end up getting an Ancient Power boost immediately, and then we take him out on the follow-up. Honchkrow is out, and this is where I was partially worried. We hit Ancient Power, he hits Drill Peck, we get burned, he uses a full restore, and we decide to heal up with Roost. We're going to have to use Roost a lot in this fight just because of the burn damage. He hits Drill Peck, we get hit by Burn, we hit another Ancient Power, and we get our second boost to now offset the burn damage. It still sucks because we're just taking so much damage from Burn every time. Starting in Generation 6, it was dropped down to a 16th of your health and not an 8th. And personally, I think that's a lot better. It already halves your attack, so I feel like making you take the same amount as regular poison damage was just brutal. I think if it was a 16th in this game, I think we would have been a little better off. We still would have needed Roost, but he's not doing that much to us, and I was really worried he was just going to get an ungodly amount of crits. Because for some reason, whenever I face him, even in a regular playthrough, he's actually worse than this. If I take a full team of 6 against him, he just gets crit after crit and usually takes out half of our team. Yet, apparently I can just... Oh, you know what? It's because it's named after Arceus, isn't it? You can't burn God. Last gym badge is Electric Gym Leader Volkner. Now, I did lose this the first time because he got really good Focus Blast luck with his Raichu. This time, though, instead of just trying to stall him out with Roost, we just took him out after the second Focus Blast. Amazingly enough, he still hit 2 in a row. Electivire comes out, I thought we were toast, and we barely survived the Thunder Punch to heal up with Roost. We get hit with another Thunder Punch, and now we can just pretty much spam Earthquake for the entire rest of the fight. Also, I'm really upset that his Luxray doesn't have Intimidate, because Rivalry is just awful. It's definitely up there with worst battle abilities, at least in my opinion. Last rival fight before the Pokemon League, and this was tough. He has close combat on 3 of his Pokemon, and without a boost from Ancient Power on Heracross, we stood no chance. We didn't even make it past Heracross, because we didn't actually take him out with Return, and then he would just take us out with close combat pretty easily. Thankfully, we even outsped Infernape from 1 ancient power boost, which I still don't quite understand, but we did. Probably just from being overleveled. We roost against Floatzel, we decide to hit return, and we take him out pretty easily. Floatzel's not very good defensively. Snorlax, which is finally a Snorlax, comes out. It just hits us with a weak body slam, but we don't get paralyzed, so we take him out on the next return. Last out is Roserade, who we just one-shot with return. Honestly, with its bad defense, I feel like we could have one-shot even without a boost, but at least we can attempt the Elite Four. So first up is Bug Trainer Aaron, who leads a Yanmega. I went for return hoping it one-shot, and he just went for double team. Thankfully, after he heals up with a full restore, Ancient Power just one-shots. Even though he tries a second double team, it still hit. Kinda nice. You can't troll God, it just doesn't work that way. Heracross is out next, and I thought a close combat was coming my way, until he just used Stone Edge. I don't know if he just doesn't have a fighting move, or if he used Stone Edge because close combat might not have KO'd, I'm not sure. However, Vespiquen tries to use Heal Order, but it's not enough to survive a second return, and it goes down. Scizor's out, and we're going to have to use Earthquake. Now, I do have Flamethrower. I went and picked it up at the Fuego Ironworks, just in case I needed it. Mostly it was for Scizor, but Earthquake did a really good job. Drapion didn't really do that much damage to us, and despite poisoning us at the very end, it wasn't enough, and that's 1 trainer down, 3 to go, and then Cynthia. Okay, so this Bertha fight was insane. So it starts out with us critting return on Whiscash. Definitely didn't have that on the bingo card. Next out is Gliscor. We hit return. It's going to be a 2-shot. It's pretty good defensively. She crits an Earthquake as we finish her off with return. Hippowdon's out, and now it's going to be Sand for the rest of the battle. At least in later games, it only lasts 5 turns and 8 turns if you have a Smooth Rock, but the entire battle, unless it's replaced, is just wild. So I was worried she'd go for Yawn, and actually lost this because she used Yawn the first battle. This time though, she just spams Earthquake, so we're able to keep going until return takes her out. Golem is out, and I go for Roost since I wasn't expecting Golem to be able to do that much damage to us, which I was correct there. We hit Earthquake, we crit to take her out. That crit definitely mattered. Golem has really high defense. Rhyperior is out, and this is where it gets wild. So we hit Earthquake, she hits Earthquake, doing really big damage. We're hit by Sandstorm, we go for Roost, she goes for Avalanche since she would have lived and it would have been enough to take us out. She goes for Avalanche again, we get hit by Sand, she full restores, we can go for another Earthquake, but thanks to us having 26 health left, we're able to survive with just 9 health left after Sand and get the win. Man, if that wasn't the best fight we have in this entire challenge, I'm gonna be surprised. I mean, it might be because we all know Flint won't put up a fight. We have Earthquake, and we can just one-shot his entire team. I also was stunned that his Infernape didn't go for close combat. I'm 99% sure he has close combat, but he just went for Flare Blitz. I don't know if he was just scared and tried to burn us, but, you know, as the Cyrus fight obviously proves, if you burn God, you're just gonna lose. So, yeah, Arceus is just really just doing so good so far in this challenge. So I also actually fell to Lucian once, and that was just because his Mr. Mime just set up all the screens, so we weren't doing that much, and then he ended up just lowering our special defense with Psychic, and then crit us on the following turn. This time around though, he still sets up all of his screens, but we're able to essentially try to stall out his screens by using Roost. Mr. Mime gets taken out, and we had a boost from Ancient Power as well. So now we can one-shot Gallade with return, and now Alakazam is out, which will outspeed now, and his screens are gone, which is really important. And that was the main goal I wanted, was to stall out his screens. We outsped Espeon, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a big Psychic to come my way. Bronzong is where I was worried. See, I didn't teach Flamethrower, as you can see, and I can't use Earthquake because of Levitate. Despite his best efforts to heal up with a full restore, he ends up getting hit with a critical return, and then taken out on the follow-up, and that brings us to Pokemon Champion Cynthia. And I am just going to tell you now, this fight was wild. So we had to go all the way up to level 90. God had not, he was still tired, and I needed to, help wake him up faster with the rare candies. So Spiritomb is a 2-shot with Earthquake. It was the one thing I was never worried about. We had to keep going until we outsped Lucario, which took until like 87, I think. But Togekiss would usually mess us up. You can see how much damage Aura Sphere is doing. We just go for Return and take her out. So the battle before this, we actually got flinched by Dragon Rush, but this time she goes for Earthquake and doesn't crit, so we're able to get off a Roost. She goes for Dragon Rush as we Roost again. This time she goes for Dragon Rush with no flinch, and we're able to hit Return and take her out with a crit, which is huge. Next out's Milotic. We go for Return as she goes for Surf. She does pretty decent damage. We go for Roost as she full restores. So we can just go for Return the next time around. So we go for Return, and then she just goes for Mirror Coat. Now, Surf wouldn't have mattered, we were going to live anyway, but now we can just simply use Return, one-shot Roserade, getting us the win. Well, I didn't have needing level 90 to beat Cynthia on my bingo card, but at least we won. That was way tougher than I thought, though. But hey, at least it's out of the way. However, as you can see, there's still time left in this video, because there's still one more thing we need to do. As you saw at the beginning of the video, and for the whole video, I named Dunsparce Arceus. And it was for good reason. So, simply enough, we can just plug in a code and talk to this guy in the Pokemart. Now, supposedly, there's certain Pokemarts you can use that wouldn't actually trigger the code, and I had to get the National Pokedex to be able to actually do this. But now that we have the Azure Flute, all we have to do now is get our Staraptor or Staravia out of the PC and fly all the way to Spear Pillar, and now we get to blow into the Azure Flute. Now, I'm really sad that there's actually no sound when you do this, but it opens up a stairway, and up on top of this stairway is God himself. That's right, guys, we're going to take down God with a smaller God. Or, I don't... We're going to do it with Dunsparce. So we Ancient Power, we end up getting a boost, a crit, which did nothing, get hit by Future Sight, God hits us with Hyper Beam doing massive damage, and yes, a crit would KO us no matter what. That's how strong this thing is. God goes for Recover, we can go for one last Return after another Hyper Beam, and officially, Dunsparce has claimed itself as the new god of Pokemon. Yep, this guy knows Dunsparce is the real deal. Alright, well, that's all I have for this video. That was a really fun run. Much tougher in some spots than I thought. I do kind of wish that the Candice fight I would have just used some rare candies, because I'm really curious if we could have beat that without Ancient Power. I mean, obviously at level 100 we could have, but I am a little bummed that I didn't max level for God, though. I feel like it's essentially implied since, it's the god of Pokemon, but that's all I have. So the next run on the agenda is going to be Pokemon Ruby with just Torchic. Now, I picked Ruby over Emerald just for the nostalgia. I couldn't resist, I just had to do it. It was one of the first games I had as a kid. But, leave suggestions down below in the comment section. And feel free to leave really anything. I'm not sure I want to get into Heart Gold or Soul Silver yet, though. And I haven't tried Gen 5, so I might have to try that at some point. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys in the next video. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Have a good day.